you didn't think that any of them would come much of a surprise, that we could recognize them. And that indeed we did. We recognize these changes, but we'll turn it over to you with that preface and let you walk through it if you'd like.
Okay. First off, I did want to just briefly apologize. I couldn't, I know that you guys want the lines number just for ease of talking about like Article 2, line 17. I tried like 3 or 4 different Word processors, and I think the only one that you can do it on is Word, which is the only one I didn't have available to me at the time. And so I couldn't actually line the numbers. So I did actually intend to do that because I know that that is one of the formatting requests that you made last year for ease of discussing these things. I know it's standard in legal talk. So I did just want to say that I did intend to add line numeration just for ease of discussion. So in Article 2, this is one of the many not new changes. So this was a change that we discussed last year, but your team didn't feel like the university was ready to adopt this yet, or otherwise didn't want to add it to the contract, which was informed by a problem in the engineering department, as I'm sure Jim helped us to fix it. So I know that you guys don't want colleges doing this, but an entire college had put their entire student body on less than a 19.5 number of pay periods, right? So there were all these people who had were only getting 18.5 pay periods, if I recall, or maybe it was even less than that, including our former president, JB, who very courageously took on this issue, and Jim was very useful in solving it. But basically what it meant was that engineering students weren't getting paid for the last week of their college experience, which was not conducive for, especially a department like engineering with so many foreign students coming in from abroad. And so we're bringing this up again just because it is a change that we really think is important and would show, I think it just bureaucratically makes sense that, and it would be easier then also for you guys to actually control several different colleges and make sure that they don't try and maneuver like this again, right? Which would be to require that every college, not the university as a whole, but every college, right? College of Engineering, College of Arts and Sciences, etc., offer a majority of their 0.5 full-time employee students with a full academic year of pay periods, right? And so this is the first one that we're kind of hoping to sort out. And if I need to go into details again about the engineering situation, I can sort of explain it to remind you guys, but I'm pretty sure Jim remembers it well. I think we had many talks about it. The second major change is, again, another one that we brought up last year, which is in 2.4, which involves notice. And that is about if a department, right, a department is supposed to offer a job letter for students in the next year by a certain deadline if practicable. And right now, that basically means that if a department doesn't feel like it's practicable, then it just doesn't have to inform the student until quite late in the process. And we're adding Article D in 2.4 that says, if final appointment letters cannot be provided by the above deadlines, the employing department shall notify the employees as to why the deadline was not practicable. So at least the department has to explain to students what's going on and why they're not getting a job letter yet. And I remember when we brought this up last year, and this was actually something that Kelly did, so I want to give credit where credit is due to Kelly. I think we just didn't have time to fully work this out. But you guys were worried, I remember, if I recall correctly, that this would add an undue burden to departments. The department chairs would have to be writing up 5 or 6 different emails, maybe more a semester, and especially big departments, right? Maybe writing like 40 different emails one day as to why they can't give job letters. And so we wanted to provide, to address that concern. We understand that you guys have this concern. We also added Appendix F, which would be a template for any head of department who can't make this deadline, right? And if the department can't make this deadline, then they can use the template, right, and just switch out a couple words and maybe send it out as a mass email or send it individually. But we believe that it would correct the concern that you guys have about undue burden, right? And so that's really our motivation there, that we still want this in the contract, and you guys had a concern about the workload requirements that this would entail, and we're hoping that the template letter will address that concern, because we do think it's really important that students have at least some idea, some confidence that their department still knows they exist, right? That they've been accepted, funding's possible, they don't know what's going to happen, they need to plan their financial future, figure out if they got to get out FAFSA loans, etc. Then we have 2.5, which is changes in appointment. We just wanted to add a couple of conditions for notice, right? But right now, the only ones I believe are 1 and 4, which is unsatisfactory performance of duties and lack of funds. Then the department has to notify students. So we just want to add a couple different conditions that the university has to notify students about changes in appointment. So, students who are not having satisfactory coursework aren't getting blindsided, or students that are failing to complete degree requirements also aren't getting blindsided by their departments and, getting basically laid off or fired or otherwise held accountable without at least being informed that this is what's going to happen to them. Now, Article 9, this is a little new, but it's a modification to something that you guys really wanted last year, and we agreed to put in, kind of under the understanding that we had to sort of solve bargaining quickly, and that you guys had been pretty amenable to some of our other conditions. And I think since we accepted it, a lot of people had concerns, especially in COVID time, that we know that in job abandonment, the norm in the US is 3 days, but we believe that norm is maybe not ideal, that we understand that this is what employers in general expect, but graduate students in general may have added challenges because of the nature of being a graduate student. Also, the fact that a lot of us are foreign, right? And they may be from countries with imperfect things like internet connections and political situations too, right? For instance, I know it can be difficult often for Iranians, due to things like sanctions, to access a lot of like USF online services, right? In fact, I think it's illegal for certain USF services to be used from Iran due to sanctions. And we do have a lot of Iranian students. There's other situations like natural disasters, and students tend at 4-year university tend to be much more dispersed. So there's always going to be more risk of students being subject to that. So we just feel like the normal, well, it's not a feel, it's just a concern that many graduate students have raised to us, that the 3-day norm is not very applicable to students, and maybe in general should be 5 days. So we just Yeah, that's true too. The graduate students may just not they may just like forget to do that or not know that they have to do that or should do that, and then that will completely, and they may be sick, right? I mean, if you're, say someone's sick with COVID, they go to have a medical emergency, go to the hospital. I think it would be really unfortunate, right? And I think in terms of like graduate student success, if someone's invested many years of their life into USF, it would be a real shame if they had like a medical emergency so they couldn't contact their department for 5 days, and then they get booted from the program, basically. So we want to just add a bit more time for students to sort that out. We do understand there's a legitimate concern about job abandonment, but we just feel like more time would address those concerns that students have.
Sam, let me ask you, are you not taking into consideration the second sentence that we both parties agreed to, the insertion of that second sentence in F that says that, if you've had extenuating circumstances that made it impossible, then that's taken into consideration already. We already have language in the agreement that both parties agreed to last time. This was inserted. It's just the ink is still kind of damp on the page from when we were at the table last, but we do have that proviso in there.
That's true, and we appreciate that, and we assume that most departments would be considerate of that, but we want a more ironclad guarantee, because consideration could be vague, right? If a head of a department doesn't really like a student, they might not consider it as much as if a head of a department really does like a student. So it adds like a lot of arbitrariness, I think, and that's our other concern, that consideration is nice, and we do think that part of the language is important, so that departments can change their mind in the case of a student who's I don't know, they're on a boat in a tsunami or something, and they can't contact their department. Okay, well, we understand.
Have you had any examples since we've agreed to this that there's been a problem with the 3 consecutive days?
Not as of yet. I think our concern is to prevent any examples of that from cropping up.
Okay. All
right. So the final one is Article 17, the copies of agreement. So Article 9 was the only new one, right? Because that was an article that came up last year. Article 17 is from last year. We did raise it last year, and you guys didn't really bite. You weren't that interested and didn't see why it's important. But I wanted to bring it back because I actually noticed on the HR website, actually doesn't have yet the CBA that we agreed to last summer, which just kind of reminded me of this clause. Like, hey, this is an important clause that the most updated possible CBA information is available on the university website at any one time. And this is just like, we want the university basically be agreeing to this beforehand so that they don't, if there is a situation like this where, the most up-to-date possible information is, and we can say like, hey guys, can you, put this up, right? It's not something for us to maliciously go after the university. It's really just, we're hoping that the university makes explicit and recognizes our desire that these CBA documents on the university website be updated in as timely a fashion as possible. And so these are all the articles we brought today. We did have more proposals, but I was remembering from last session we would send lots and lots of proposals and only get around to discussing a few of them. And so I really just wanted to send this nice, succinct list of language proposals, and maybe we can get them out of the way today, maybe not, but at least maybe we can move closer on some of them. And I hope at least I've been able to explain coherently our position on any of these.
Sam, this is Jim. Just next time you notice that documents missing, let me know.
Okay, I should have emailed you about it. I didn't actually notice until I think we were planning this document, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I wonder if they did update the HR website, and I noticed you guys didn't. Like, oh, okay, so
it should be. Didn't we just do an MOU last time?
We did. So I guess there's some vagueness about whether, but there were actual.
The MOU should be there.
There were language changes, right? And so I think at least those documents should be available. But perhaps even the language can be changed more to say that the most up-to-date bargaining information, contract information should be available on the website, just to make it more general to apply to the MOUs more clearly. But yeah, we do think that this is an important agreement. And again, we will not, we don't plan on, you guys put it up on 32 days later, we're gonna like file some ULP with the government or something, right? This is more, this isn't a malicious thing, I guess is what I'm saying. But we wouldn't use this maliciously against the university. We really just want to see a commitment on this.
Let me ask you, Sam, so I want to make sure, you're saying that there will be other proposals, or are these going to be your proposals that are non-economic?
I think these are the vast majority of our non-economic proposals. We may have more. I think there's a couple that are like borderline economic. So, stuff like accumulating sick leave and stuff. I think maybe borderline economic, but it's kind of vague if it's really an added spending commitment. And there may be a couple other contract issues that we identify. I think there's also an old MOU. We discussed it last time, but I may bring it up to put it into the contract next. There's a couple other language issues, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. But this is like the bulk, I think, of our language issues that we want to bring up this year.
Well, I think we're going to want to pause and figure out where you're going to be on non-economic. And I agree with you. There is sometimes some gray as to whether something's economic or not. And we understand that. But to the extent that you think these are going to be your non-economic ones, that's easier for us to then as a team kind of get our hands around it and come back to you with our position. We weren't sure of that from your message. So we're really not going to be prepared to, reach an agreement on these today. We want to talk about them some more. We've had a week. I was on the road most of this week in the Panhandle, so I really haven't had a chance to chat with our team, about these. We wanted to hear you out. So I think to the extent that you believe that you are going to be having other proposals that are non-economic in nature, if you could get those to us, the sooner the better. Or if you tell us, no, these are they, that would be nice for us to know that, so that we can, we usually like to look at these proposals in context, globally. So, I'm talking about the non-economic items. So to the extent you can get that message to us pretty soon, it'd be helpful.
Okay.
We don't have any proposals today to advance, or if we would have provided them to you and your team. We're still, as the university is just waiting to see what's going to happen. And we would really encourage you and your team to watch what's going on, to pay close attention to the legislative session, what's taking place, and you can get that information as quick as we can by doing that and monitoring that. We do know that there's a good chance that, insurance premiums for health insurance are going to go up again.
Yeah.
And we're watching that closely. One of the things the parties did, which I think was very helpful to the bargaining unit, the university was happy to do it under the circumstances to get an agreement, was to absorb the expenses last time. And we don't know what's going to happen other than the fact that there's going to be some increase. And what we've heard is that that's driven largely by claims experience, folks using the insurance and filing claims under. And supposedly there's been some pretty large claims made, which drives up the cost of the coverage. Yeah. That's everywhere. That's what's happening. So this is going to be somewhat complicated bargaining by just the nature of what's going on right now. Sam, and I'm sure you appreciate that.
We do. Yeah, we know that the budget situation is tricky. We are actually, so one of the things I want to keep open non-economic proposals too is that we've seen a couple of fairly concerning bills going also through Tallahassee right now. Particularly, for instance, one that allows students to record our lectures without our consent, which really troubles me. And I don't know what kind of language we might include to minimize the harms of that sort of thing, but we are going to be looking into that. So I do want to keep also open the door because of the legislative session, because so many bills are moving through that we're worried about. For instance, I know I definitely would feel an invasion of privacy if someone recorded my lecture without my consent, and I would not feel at all comfortable with that. But the Florida legislature.
Say that again. Recording what now?
There's a bill. I don't want to get too sidetracked with this because it's not made it through Tallahassee yet, but Tallahassee is trying to pass a bill that would allow students to record lectures without our consent. And if they release those recordings, our only recourse would be to sue the student, which is not an option available to many professors. I don't know any lawyers, but I don't know how to sue people. So I don't think that would be a very good, but we don't know what kind of language is going to end up in those bills yet. We don't even know if they're going to pass. So we do want to keep open some room to maybe introduce some new economic proposals. There is at least one other, non-economic. There is at least one other non-economic proposal that I'm aware that we have. I just didn't want to include it in the email till I learned more about it.
Sure. Well, that makes sense. We appreciate what you're saying. I had not heard that before, and so I'm interested to hear what you find out about it, and we'll try to look into that as well.
And this is Jim. Just let me add that I think almost any of the bills that you're concerned about, the administration is concerned about as well, because it applies to everyone. So there's a number of bills that we've got our eyes on, and all the other state university systems have their eyes on. And that particular one, a lot of the parents of the students have put out an outcry against it because they don't want their children to be filmed by another child in the class and that posted to YouTube. So
yeah,
isn't that a FERPA violation in some sense?
I think so. Actually, that would be a FERPA violation. So it may conflict with federal law.
So anyway, we've got our eyes on all those things. But yeah, it's good to keep more people looking at it for sure.
Okay, and that's good because I always feel confidence when I know that there's something that we in the administration agree on, that there's a common cause. It's we actually have some issues that we really do see eye to eye and have shared interests. But good to hear that you guys are watching that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I could add just one question really quick in the lull. Mr. Dickinson, the expectation that insurance premiums, there are some large claims that might drive the expense to go up. Does anyone suspect that that's COVID specific, or is it just kind of a general market situation?
I don't know.
Okay, yeah. I was just curious. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
So one thing that we're hoping too is that once we get a better image of the stimulus, we may also be able to discuss how. But also, I mentioned to Gary, maybe this is something better to discuss outside of bargaining. We're not really sure yet, but how the portion that's going to go to graduate students will be best spent. Because we know that there's certain portions of it. I don't know what the latest numbers are. 57 million was the latest I heard from both Jim and also from our union state leadership, but that was before the bill was actually passed. I don't know if that's gone up or down.
Yeah.
But also that maybe we'll discuss health insurance spending there too, because we understand that the recurring money in the university is not necessarily going up. But there may be some way to deal with it with non-recurring money. But, you know, we want to cross that bridge when we get there. But, you know, I think that's something I mentioned last bargaining, just to keep an eye on, and that we can sort of cross that bridge maybe soon, but not today.
Yeah. Well, you know that the agreement on the insurance clause, where the university went beyond the language in the agreement, beyond the $2,410, you know, cap, and we agreed to add, at least for a period of time, not going beyond $2,950. So that expires in August of this year. So it behooves the parties to watch what's going on and pay attention to what the legislature is going to do, and the governor, what he may do with what the legislature does in the state. Obviously, like you mentioned, federal funding and questions like that need to be closely monitored. So, you know, I kind of liked your idea at one point that you mentioned about an MOU and kind of taking care of it, where it gets us past this unsteady, kind of unsettled area that we're in, you know, historically. Sometimes an MOU can get you past that. So I think both parties looking at that would be somewhat beneficial to consider.
Mm-hmm.
You know? 'Cause I don't see it. I don't know about you guys, but and gals, I don't see this getting any better very quickly. I really don't.
Yeah, I'm afraid that you may be correct about that. So, especially I know that, you know, Florida has a budget which is largely built around sales tax, if I recall, not income tax, and obviously that's going to go down much more than other forms of oh, there's your cat was walking by the, sorry, I shouldn't get distracted by the cats.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully maybe that's another issue that GAU and the administration could come together on, is cats. So yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, we're going to be keeping a close eye on that, and maybe that's something we'll have more information on for the next bargaining session, which I'm guessing will be April at some point. If you guys are amenable to that, but I know we're going to have to maybe discuss that at the end of this meeting. So I'm curious if you guys had any thoughts on any of these specific proposals. Like, you know, I know that you guys haven't been able to formulate a fully fleshed out kind of response to each of these proposals, but if you guys had any initial thoughts, reservations, something.
No, we haven't prepared anything yet. And we're really kind of waiting to watch and see what's going to happen. And like I said, we haven't had any time really to talk about it. I don't think right now we're prepared to agree to anything. And I know we got spring break coming up the week of the 12th or something like that of April.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a whole week out, I guess, the 12th through the 16th. So, you know, I think we're going to want to wait and see what y'all, if you have any more non-economic or not, let us know that. And then maybe we can wait and schedule another meeting after you do that, or we can look at calendars now. Maybe, you know, productive to wait, but it's up to you.
I'm okay to look at calendars now because I think we only have what I said one or two more clearly non-economic proposals and maybe one or two gray area proposals, mostly around leave. That's a good suggestion.
Well, that's an idea. We looked at our calendars beforehand because one of the ground rules was that we would be prepared to talk about this. And everybody on our team right now, the week after the spring break was somewhat problematic, but the 30th is available on all of our calendars. So if you wanted to, what you could do is try to get to us your proposals the week of the 5th. We of course, that week of the 12th is going to be tough for us to get together. But if you get the proposals to us the week of the 12th, we'll have that week of the 19th to go over, you know? And that may be something to consider.
That would.
Sure. I mean, whatever you can get them to us, you know, it's up to y'all. We can't push you any more than that. You just to say that the earlier we get them, the better it is for us.
Okay. Well, we could agree to get them at least by 2 weeks beforehand, but we'll try to get them. I mean, I probably would be able to send them much sooner than that. I think I already have the proposals ready. I just didn't want to overburden you guys with too much to talk about for this session, because I really I was remembering last year we would just get bogged down in like a 45-minute discussion on one article, and it didn't seem very productive to me. It seemed more productive to be a little bit more focused, I guess.
Okay, we appreciate that.
Yeah, and Sam, the more time we have, the more likely it's hard for us to schedule time together to talk about your proposals. So, and so having a little bit more time makes it easier for us, because we're all most of the people on this team are pretty busy. So it gives us more time to organize a Teams meeting to discuss what you've got before we actually meet with you guys again. So it'd be great if you can do that.
Okay. Yeah.
And then just to be clear, April 30th is when we would all like to commit to meet.
Yep.
Okay, that works. I mean, for me, I can't speak for the rest of my team, but I'm good with that.
Remind me, is that finals week? Or was that the week before finals? Okay, good. So yeah, that week is going to work fine for me.
Yeah, and the following week will be commencement.
Okay.
So
yeah, then you guys will be super busy. That's what I was kind of thinking. They're going to be really, yeah. So,
sure.
Yeah, that works, and we'll try to notify. I think we're trying also. We've been going as you guys. I think Jim's seen me a couple of times coming into SEIU bargaining and adjunct bargaining. We're also going to try to get some of our fellow unions to come. Just I think it's useful for all the different parties, employees to be observing. So having that date ahead of time will be good as well for us to sort of reach out to some of our partner unions, see if they want to attend. Not in any conspiratorial way or anything, cause ruckus, but just so I think it's good that we can see kind of, where we all stand, right? And not in an adversarial way with you guys, but as a class, I guess, or yeah, I think the 30th then is great. I think that seems like it works for all of us.
You want to do it at 2 o'clock again?
Mm-hmm. That's
okay.
Great.
All right. Well, we'll send out an invite, and we'll wait to hear from you, and I hope everybody has a good spring break. Get some rest.
Yeah, it's weird having spring break at the end of the semester.
I know. I'd forgotten that we were doing that, and I remember my mom was going to visit me in the middle of March, and she's like, she decided not to, even though she had the COVID shot, because she's a doctor, and it's just like, oh well, there's still a 2% chance I might spread it to your baby. Don't worry about it, Mom. But yeah, it was. It's definitely unusual to have such a late spring break.
That is.
That's clever, actually. That's actually one thing that I want to communicate to the administration is that I've heard from other state universities in Florida that their COVID response, from other GAUs, they've been less satisfied with the COVID response than we've been with you guys, and we actually do appreciate it. I think the problems insofar as it has been spread, seems to come more from certain groups of undergrads partying at the wrong time. Other universities have insisted on hosting in-person football games and other events, which I think have increased the spread quite a bit more. But USF's actually been really good, and we appreciate how much flexibility you guys have shown us. We want to give credit where credit is due, right? We don't always agree with the administration on everything, but we think that that's shown us a lot of respect on that front.
Yeah, Sam, I have to say that our COVID task force, run by Donna Peterson, has just done an amazing job with everything. They really have done a good job clamping down on everything. Because what happened at some of the other universities in the state is they kept having like football games during the COVID thing, and our group wouldn't let us do that. So we had a good steering group up there, So
yeah,
that's been really good, I think.
Yeah, we really appreciate the professionalism and.
I will let them know. I'll tell them.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be nice, actually.
Terrific.
So
there was one question that I had, just since it'll be probably quite a while before we meet again, and this is something that on both of our sides I think is a pretty big deal, and we're thinking about a lot because we've brought it up with gauging our interest in doing another MOU. Mr. Dickinson, I was just curious, with the MOU in your mind, would the goal be to have an MOU agreement that's as identical as possible, even if certain conditions change, budgetary stuff changes, and then we have to make modifications? Would the goal be to make the next MOU, if that's the direction we go in, as identical as possible to the last one, or would your side have some kind of significant revisions that they might want to introduce?
I don't know that our team has an agenda, or we've really not together as a team fleshed out what the MOU would look like. My sense would be the simpler the better.
Yeah.
Kind of a placeholder. It has a way of putting a pause button in an area in a time when things are so uncertain. That's the only goal that I would see we'd want to, without any agenda beyond that. But your question is a good one, but we really haven't, because y'all mentioned it. We haven't really. We were going to wait and see. And obviously, if that's something that you think that the parties ought to, in earnest, be looking at, then we could have more internal discussions about it.
Okay. Yeah. I was just curious. Honestly, I think we're probably in about the same position that you are with it. It's something that's interesting to us, but we don't really quite know what it would look like on the other end. So I was just trying to understand maybe what to expect with it. So thank you.
So let me make sure you would welcome maybe a proposal from us for a 1-year memorandum of understanding on like an extended contract.
I think so. Yeah, and maybe with a few like language changes to the contract itself, but kind of like we did last year.
Yeah, and I think it's something we'll talk. That's why I brought it up, because since we won't meet until the 30th again, I think it's something that our bargaining team would like to just talk about a lot more over the next couple of weeks and try to get a sense of where we're at with it and what would make sense or what wouldn't.
Very good.
One more good thing maybe to consider to bring to the table next time is if the university has the numbers by then, the federal stimulus funding that the university is getting, and how much of it is guaranteed to go to graduate students and how much else of it is available to come to us. And maybe we could also then discuss some of the economic, or at least a few of the economic issues that don't pertain specifically to recurring money, right? You can get like some temporary aid here or there. Maybe, I think we shared our list of priorities last time, right? I think it was health insurance, maybe an extra semester or two of funding for students, bonus maybe, Did I say health insurance already? I can't remember. It was
Yeah.
4 things though. So yeah, we'll be able to discuss those in more detail. I think that we can today if we have like some budgetary numbers available.
Okay.
Really helpful. Do you guys think we're done here today then? Do we have any?
I think I'm good.
I think we're completed our session. We appreciate, Sam, you and your team, we really do, and the work you did in putting together the proposals. And we'll look forward to receiving any additional material that you want to provide whenever you can. And Sherry will send out an invitation for 2 o'clock on the 30th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
I guess.